Welcome, everybody. I want to introduce to you today Adriana. She's going to tell us a little bit about her uh, the symptoms that she dealt with, but also she specializes in the area of relationships and being in, with a narcissist and how that can affect you with, some of these symptoms. I know it affected me big time, huge. It was probably half, of how I got ill throughout life, and it all just added up. And then one day, kaboom, it all just decided to come up.
Yeah, I had like other random stuff. So they said I had arthritis in my right wrist,
Mhm.
and runner's knee, tennis elbow, tendonitis. I am not a runner. I don't play tennis.
Right.
So, and I didn't really do much exercise because I was afraid of injuring myself further. You know what I mean? So all
Hmm.
that, and then, stomach issues here and there, like the ulcers from all the painkillers. And I
Hmm.
didn't think I took that many, to be totally honest.
Right.
But it could have been like a TMS thing as well. Like some like IBS stuff here and there, fatigue here and there.
Right.
Just all everything, every
Did
symptom
you
I
have any
probably had.
anxiety,
Oh
OCD,
yeah.
looping thoughts?
Oh, anxiety, absolutely. Like I for my whole life, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
anxiety, depression, on and off medications, all that kind of stuff.
So before the wisdom tooth thing happened, did you have um this was 2015. Uh did you have like events throughout your life that that you can remember that sparked the perfect storm?
I was raised by a narcissistic mother.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's enough. That's
There
all
we
you
go,
need.
right?
Just that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, your bucket was getting full throughout,
Mhm.
life, and then the wisdom tooth thing was the last drop that ca broke the camel toe's back, right?
Pretty much.
So, so that's interesting, and it's the way I see it, it's a blessing because it forced you to go down that road of regulating everything. Because if
Yeah.
you didn't, who knows, you'd be stuck, and sometimes these things come ugly, but they have a bigger purpose,
Yeah. I honestly don't think I'd be alive if I didn't learn about the mind body connection.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So what did you do to kind of fix all this stuff? How were you able to recover?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So it was January of 2019. And so I'm just like in a pain spiral, of course, every day.
Yeah.
I'm mindlessly scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And this was, about the time when the algorithm was starting to get a little creepy and, giving you
Hmm.
ads that really started applying to things you would talk about that day. And I
Hmm.
saw an ad for the Curable app. And it just,
Right.
I didn't know anything about it. I was a little creeped out. Like, why does Facebook know I do have chronic pain? Weird, but let me buy a 1 year subscription to whatever this is because I
Yeah,
was
sure.
so desperate. And I immediately regretted that decision upon opening the app after purchasing the 1 year subscription because
Yeah, yeah.
I thought maybe it's just gonna, hypnotize me and make me think that I don't have pain or something. Because I couldn't
Yeah, yeah.
imagine how an app would help me with my pain, especially because I was, doing all the other things in person. So I was like, how could you do this online? But whatever, let's just see.
Yeah.
And then I see it's about Dr. Sarno and the mind body
Hmm.
connection, and that repressed emotions are the cause of chronic pain from childhood trauma. And I
Yeah.
was like, I knew my mother was a narcissist, but I was like, I don't have childhood trauma. This is so stupid.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was actually offended that
Yeah.
this was suggested to me, that I had like childhood trauma that I needed to work through. And that's why I had physical pain. I was like, no, my pain is real. This is bullshit. Like, I'm so pissed off.
Right,
So
right.
I was pissed off for like 24 hours. And
Yeah.
of course, 24 hours later, I'm still obviously in pain. And,
Yep.
I was doing all the things still. Like I probably went to the chiropractor that day or whatever. And then that night I was like, okay, fuck it. Humor me app. Let's
Right.
just see. Let's just see what this Dr. Sarno snake oil salesman is all
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And then I obviously did the work and I take
Yeah.
back all the horrible things I said about Sarno that first day.
Yeah, yeah.
And literally within the first week, I had a 10% reduction in my pain because I was using the app.
Hmm.
Like they have all the exercises, the writing, the meditation, the education, brain training, all that.
Right.
Within the first week, 10% reduction of my pain. Within the second week, 20% reduction of my pain. And I will
Hmm.
never forget this moment. My first 5 minutes of no pain. I was in the kitchen with my husband at our old place and I thought I was dead.
Yeah.
I literally thought I was dead. I was like, am I
Yeah, yeah.
levitating over my body? Because I don't feel pain right now.
Right.
And it
Right,
was
right.
so strange. I was like, this is is this what normal people feel like every day? Am I going to look down and see like my dead body there? Like, am I alive? Because I don't feel pain. Like, what is happening? I was so like,
Right.
what is this? And then, of course, sure enough, after 5 minutes, the pain came back.
Right.
But
It comes
that gave
back.
me
Yeah.
enough hope to be like, okay, this actually works. And if I could experience 5 minutes of no pain, like maybe there is something to this childhood trauma thing, and maybe I am traumatized. So I
Right.
kept going, obviously. I went a little bit too fast. So I did re-traumatize
Yeah.
myself a little bit and had to go on
Hmm.
medication for a few months and all that. But, that was all sorted out. And within 4 months, pain free.
Yep.
And that was literally when I decided I need to tell the world about the mind body connection. Let's get your
Right.
shift together was then born. And,
Right.
I got my mind body certification for coaching. And the more that I started opening up about my own story, being raised by a narcissistic mother, and how that kind of made me repress my emotions, which resulted in all the pain, so many more
Yeah.
people started resonating. And, long story short,
Well,
here we are.
let's get into the actual work because I'm sure people are going to be bugging me going, why don't you ever talk about what they actually did, not just generalize? I'm like, all right, all right. So, what was your day of work or a week of work like? Go through through the routine, your schedule that what you did.
Totally. So, I actually overdid it now that I think about it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
thank you for asking me that. And I would
Yeah.
never recommend anybody overdo it the way that I did, because again, I re traumatized myself. You could do that to yourself too. But
Oh yeah.
basically, I would wake up, and then as I was getting ready for work, like brushing my teeth, makeup, hair, all that, I would listen to the brain training stuff on the Curable app. So just
Hmm.
like the education portion where it just tells you about pain science and how, pain is just a danger signal from your brain. It doesn't mean that there's actual damage to your body and all that. Sometimes I eventually, like, very quickly ran out of the education audios to listen to in the morning. So then I
Yeah.
found Nicole Sachs, her podcast.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So did you
And
start doing Nicole Sachs work? Were you like raging on the
yeah,
page? Were you,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And Curable taught about it too, like the 3 lists for Sarno and the journaling and all that. So Nicole
Yeah.
was just more reinforcement to just keep journaling and all that kind of stuff, like rage on a page, destroy it after. I teach all my clients about that too, because it
So
was
you were
just
doing
so
this,
life
did
changing.
you do this every day
Yeah,
consistently? Okay, this is my time. I'm going
yeah,
to start to do the journaling. How
yeah.
long did you do it for?
Yeah, so 20 minutes. Sometimes
Okay.
I would do it twice a day, but
Right.
at least once a day. And I would, if I didn't do journaling, I would do a curable written exercise
Right.
or the journaling, like one or the other. But I think there was a point where I was doing it like 2 or 3 times a day, and that was too much. But
Right.
yeah, I would listen to Nicole's podcast in the morning. Sometimes I would
Right.
journal on my lunch break at work, and then at home I would maybe journal again or do another curable exercise. And just I was just on like an information binge about all of it. And
Right.
yeah,
Did you ever have days where you didn't have anything that you really wanted to journal about? You're kind of like, ugh, but did you do it anyway though?
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
even today, I still journal,
Yep.
and I don't know what to journal about like
Mm.
99% of the time, but I'll
Yeah.
literally just start it off with I don't know what to journal about. And then sometimes I'll be like, I don't fucking want to do this. And like I'll just rage on the page about how I don't want to do it. And then
Right.
something comes up, and it's like you don't know
Right.
what's going to come up until you literally just put the pen to the paper.
Which is, you know what? I like that approach better. We're not digging for anything. We're letting
Mm-hmm.
the brain send it to you when it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you don't re-traumatize yourself. You like, because the brain, when it's ready, it'll be like, okay, I think she's ready now. Bloop. And then you're like, okay, here we go. Fucking, right? And you get it out.
Yeah,
I think that's a better
exactly.
approach.
Totally. Yeah. And like I tell my clients all the time, like, don't go into the journaling with an agenda, right? That
Right.
I'm going to journal about this topic and this is going to fix my life. Like just literally go into it with just for the sake of doing it, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
And that works
Usually in
better.
the beginning of your journey, 9 times out of 8, you already know what the fuck is bugging you. It's like, okay, this thought, this feeling is, okay, let's do some raging. Let's get it
Mm-hmm.
out. Let's feel the feelings. Yeah. So I think that's great.
Exactly.
So you did that. That was a part of your routine. Anything else did you add? Did you do any sort of like elevating sessions where were you going for walks? Were you doing any sort of dancing or any sort of things that you enjoyed throughout the day?
Yeah, I, started actually like moving my body and stuff. I went like
Hmm.
trampolining with my friends a few times,
Nice.
rock climbing, like, just really going back on hikes and all that kind of stuff. It was great because I was afraid of all that stuff because I was
Yeah.
scared of injuring myself more. So it was just that in itself really helped my brain feel more safe that, the pain doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with my body. And
Right.
yeah, I did like I did so many things, honestly. Like I started working with like spiritual stuff,
Did you
so
find
many things.
anything that you still do today? That do you still go on your walks? Do you still
Yeah, I still
meditation
walk.
or whatever?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I'll meditate, I'll walk. But I think the journaling's really the most profound thing.
right. And it's I think it's also since we've been through this journey, we're now, living this as a lifestyle.
Yeah,
Because before we're like, okay, we're doing the work. This is the work. But now it's more, now this is a lifestyle. I don't really call it with the work. It's because life
exactly.
keeps throwing us curveballs. And this way we're able to maintain that, good life, good health. Because there's going to be a curve. Like my parents are still alive. I have two dogs I love. And I'm sure, time eventually I'm going to have to face that bullshit. And, but I'll be more prepared. I know how to handle this now instead of, having my bucket totally full. And then it becomes where I'm bedridden again,
Hmm.
right? This time I can go through the hard times and still live life somewhat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the thing, right? Like Nicole Sachs always says, and I always tell my clients too, like as long as you're alive, like you're going to be traumatized. Like life's going to keep
Yeah,
lifing
it's
at
gonna
you.
happen.
So if you're equipped with the work, it just literally becomes part of your lifestyle.
Right. So this narcissist thing, um did you finally when doing this work how a narcissist like your mom, how really it did affect your life?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It was just such a, I knew my mother was a narcissist before doing
Hmm.
this work and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of went through life because I was in therapy and all that, like, 10 years
Hmm.
on and off, different therapists. And even the therapist I was working with when I cured myself from the chronic pain, I worked with her for like 2 years. And by the time I, was better and not in pain anymore and learning about how to set my own boundaries and all that, she literally told me, I am so happy that you figured it out because I didn't think I'd be able to help you.
Nice.
So yeah, so I discovered my mother was a narcissist like in 2014, and then I kind of went into denial for a year and a half until 2016, and then it wasn't until I did the work where I really learned what an impact this made, even though I had been in therapy for years and years and years at that point. And
Yeah.
a lot of my therapists that I had over the years would say like, "Oh, you're not allowed to use the word narcissist. What about your mother's childhood? You have to be compassionate about her and, all that." Yeah, it was just so much gaslighting. And
Maybe they were narcissists.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is
I
one of my
noticed that
theories.
a narcissist is usually like, I'm gonna help everybody. Yeah, look at me,
Mhm.
I'm helping. I'm gonna be a social worker. I'm gonna be. It's
Yep.
like you're the last person that should be doing this kind of shit.
Yep.
It's hilarious.
Exactly. But it makes them look great, right? Because you
Right,
can't say anything bad about a social worker or a therapist because they're just great
right.
people, obviously.
Oh yeah, and then they talk shit about their clients and they hate do it, right? And then they do these food drives. I'm here helping the homeless, but look at how
Mhm.
much I'm helping. Look at all the shit that I'm doing. Look at me, look at me, look at me, right? Meanwhile, back at
Exactly.
the ranch, they're like complaining, "Fuck, I hate carrying all this shit. I hate fucking doing this." But when they're in front of Facebook or doing an interview, "Oh, I love doing this. I love,"
Hmm.
right? They're the star, right? They're just trying to get attention because they
Oh,
want to feel good,
absolutely.
that supply, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
So did you ever, by chance, get into a relationship that was toxic or
Yes.
with a narcissist?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
multiple.
Oh,
Multiple. Yeah,
let's get into
more than I'm
that.
proud to admit. Yeah.
Did this happen before you got sick also? Did
Yes.
that also add to your buck? Okay, let's talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, totally. So I had no idea that I kept dating narcissists throughout my life because I just thought
Mm.
it was normal, right? Like I was raised by a narcissistic mother. I thought this is just how people treat each other and this is
Yeah.
to be expected. This is just how people are, whatever. And the sorry, can you hear barking?
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a dog?
Yeah.
I hope you have a dog. It's okay. It's not.
It's okay
I
if it's in
barely
the
hear it.
audio. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
whatever.
Yeah, so it was actually 2014 when I realized that I kept dating narcissists. So I was with the final narcissist that I dated, and
Hmm.
that was like the fastest narcissistic relationship that I had. It was about 3 months long or so, and it was just the
Wow.
most confusing
Maybe
thing.
because you had training from the other guys that you were finally seeing the patterns that you're like, I know how to get out. Because
Well, no,
when I dated a
actually, that's not
really,
how it went. No, I got
he must have
dumped.
cheated on you. He must have, yeah, okay, he
Yeah,
must have left
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. He just suddenly, like the day after Valentine's Day, dumped me. Like he
Thank
was,
God.
yeah, thank God he did me such a favor. Like if nothing else, I'm so thankful for just all the stuff that he was able to help me reveal about my whole life, really. So
Yeah.
he basically dumps me the day after Valentine's Day because he only saw me as a friend and wasn't attracted to me anymore. I was like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
And literally
What
like
about the other narcissist relationship? How long did they last? How long?
much longer, much longer. So it wasn't
Okay.
until that breakup where I started Googling his behavior that
Yeah.
that like short relationship. And then I started realizing, oh my gosh, my ex before this was a narc, the one before that was a narc, and the one before that was a narc. And, you know, we can just keep going
Oh.
back and back. They were all narcissists except like one from like my university days. But, you know,
Went on. So how long
yeah,
were you dating these guys for each?
a year and a half, 2 years, like, you know, significant
Okay.
chunks of time. And with
Yeah.
those ones, I didn't Google the behavior because the sheer fact that it was such a they were all much longer relationships, and so it was easier for me to blame myself for the
Yeah.
breakdown of the relationships because, you know, they had their part, but then I also was blamed as well, and I was just so conditioned by all the narcissistic abuse for my whole life that it was
Yeah.
so much easier for me to just justify it that, oh no, I have my own flaws, and that's also, you know, there, it takes two to screw up a relationship, so I didn't really think anything of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until that final one where it was like, I know I did nothing wrong. This makes absolutely no sense. And then that's where I saw the word narcissist. And then that's also how I realized my mother was a narcissist too, down that rabbit hole.
How how did you how was the let's say the last two before that one? How did they end? Did they how did you get out of those ones?
Good question. This was like over 10 years, like
Because I know it's very
12 years.
difficult to get out, and I know it took me a while. Like I didn't like being in the relationship. I hated it, but I stayed. And
Yeah.
we probably broke up 25 times until, it finally stuck. I mean, it's
Mhm.
usually them because I was a guy that, okay, let's work on it. Okay, I was a people pleaser. I was like, okay, okay. And I was also, sucked into that person.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it was, thankfully for them, they found somebody else while they were dating me and they were able to move on. And sure, I was crushed, but it was the best thing that ever
Yeah.
happened for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the some that come to mind now that I actually think about it because it's been so long.
Yeah.
One we, you know, it wasn't, it was like 2009 or something, long time
Yeah.
ago, but we got back together like maybe once or twice after we broke up. And 'cause he
Hmm.
love bombed me and all that, and I fell for it. But then the
Yeah.
same patterns kept happening, so it was, you know, easier for me to just keep breaking up with him. But he kept
Yeah.
trying and trying and trying, and then he like kept adding me to Facebook and like messaging me and stuff like that. It was really weird. And then eventually, like he finally got married and fucked off.
Oh, I
But
feel sorry
yeah,
for that person that
yeah,
he married.
yeah, yep.
That
Yep.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
interesting when you finally break up with them and you move on with your life, you're picking up the pieces. For me, it was sure a week or two I was jealous and hurt, but then after, I didn't really care about them anymore. I cared about, who they're gonna hurt next.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And there was another narcissistic relationship where I stayed for an extra year because of what a
Hmm.
therapist told me. So basically, and it
Oh,
was, and I ended up eventually, like, it was so hard to break up with that one because he kept like, he needed space. So I gave him his
yeah.
space, and then we kept not finding a time to talk things out. And so I just ended up text message breaking up with him, which, you know, it's so
Yeah.
horrible. But at that, I had no other choice at that point. I was like, hey, I'm just done with this relationship. Like, we don't need to
Yeah.
talk about anything. Like, enjoy your life. And then I think he told me off, and then we just never talked again.
Yeah.
But I had started therapy. This was like back in, I don't know, 11, 12 or something like that. And me
Yep.
and this guy, we were like really good friends for 3 years before we started dating. And I didn't realize that was a trap. And the first 6 months were great, fantastic, perfect, no issues. And then all of a sudden things started getting bad, but it was my fault.
Yeah.
So I kept striving to make things better. And then there was one point where I was speaking with a therapist and I had moved out of my mother's house for the first time. Had to move out
Hmm.
twice because that
Oh,
was
yeah.
a whole thing, and I was beyond stressed out, so I was, you know, doing therapy, and I was venting to my ex-boyfriend at the time that, you know, I'm so stressed out like with this move, like just venting like as people do when they're stressed.
Yeah.
And he snapped on me and said, oh, having a girlfriend is supposed to feel like being on vacation, and you're not doing that for me right now. And I was like, oh,
Mm,
okay. So then I tell this to the therapist, and the therapist is like,
yeah.
he's right. It should feel like a
Uh,
vacation for him. What are you
uh,
contributing to make his life easier? It shouldn't be so, dark and drab, and you don't need to tell him about all your problems. I was like, oh, okay. So then I tried harder for
okay.
another year to make this relationship work,
Oh
and
man.
it just ended up with a text message breakup in the end. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I went to my ex narcissist. She forced me to go to get therapy. She's like, "There's something wrong with you. You have some issues. This is why we're having problems in the relationship. You need to go get checked. You need a professional. I'll help you." I'm like, "Okay." I went to a doctor. I went to, and my doctor's like, maybe you got to find a new girlfriend. Then I finally found somebody that's going to help me with my whatever it is. And then he's like, you know, this is, he showed me all these pamphlets. He's like, this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a narcissist. You're dealing, I'm like,
Amazing.
he told me everything about her. He's like, she's dealing with this and blah, blah, blah. He drew like a map of how her life is and her daughter and all this stuff. And then he's like,
Wow.
the only way I can help you is if you leave. You have
Wow.
to leave, and then I can help you with the aftermath of, getting you back to life and getting you. But until you do that, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
All we can really talk about is the news and politics, but that's it. I can't help you. I'm like,
And
okay.
that's lucky that the therapist even pointed out to you that you were dealing with a narcissist.
Right. Then I told her because she asked me, she's like, what did they say? What did he say? I'm
Oh
like, well,
no.
he said this and this. He said, you're a narcissist. And she's like, okay, he's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, you got to find another person. I'm like, all right. So it's probably because he's a man. He doesn't get it. So, all right. So I went and found another person, and they're sitting in the chair like, I'm not going to tell you anything different. This is you need to leave her. You can't.
Amazing.
There's nothing I can help you with. And then I told her that, and she's like, "Are these people stupid? Like, I don't understand." I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fucked, and I'm a weird. I can see it's not me, it's her, right? I wasn't, of course, I wasn't perfect either, but I was also, at my worst with this relationship. I was also right reacting and surviving. So eventually, yeah, eventually I got out of it. But it's interesting how they couldn't help me until I decided to leave. And that's it. That's the hard truth. And and some people are like, well, how can we, how can we fix this? How can we, and then you go through a period where you want to fix it because you
Mm-hmm.
think you can, because they're human,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have
Yeah,
blood, they have a brain. Why can't we do therapy? Right?
exactly. Exactly. Right. And it's like we project our good nature onto the narcissist,
Right.
and we assume that they think like us, and we assume that they have a common goal to just exist peacefully together, but that's
Yeah.
absolutely not what they want.
Right. Um, what was your, what were some of the traits that you saw in some of your relationship that were keep popping up that they did, as a narcissist?
Well, the love bombing hooked me in every time, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah. Right. And
The
it's
love
like
bombing.
to the point
Yeah.
where I didn't even my husband now, like I didn't even know he was interested in me because he never love bombed me. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
there was such this pattern of just
They
the
have a
love
charm.
bombing. Yes.
They have
Yeah.
this special charm. They tell you everything that you want. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this is the relationship I always want. It's like a fairy tale, right? You
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're in a fairy tale. They're telling you the things that make you melt that
Yep.
you didn't even know because they're like masters. They usually 9 times out of eight they've had many relationships. They had, they've honed their skills.
Mm-hmm.
Their knife is sharp. They're
Absolutely.
really good at this shit. They know how to
Yeah.
manipulate you really good. So you see them in a certain angle at the beginning, um, and you're happy, and then you disregard certain things that you see too.
Oh yeah.
I noticed
Oh,
that
absolutely. Of course.
certain warning signs. I'm like, oh yeah, 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 I know. But you know what? Well, she has all these other things that are really good that I really like, and we can work on those things. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's how narcissists get you, because nobody is perfect at the end of the day. So it's like if you try to call them out on something they did, then they're going to point something out that makes you not perfect. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess I can give this person the benefit of the doubt, and maybe it is my fault. And then that's how you stay like trapped.
Right. And then you see these little things that they do that makes no sense. Um, they start, you know, controlling you. For me, it was control, a lot of control. Why are you doing this? You can't do that. Why? Right? Insecurity, jealousy, very jealous, very controlling. And then they start to wear you down. slowly. They start saying, "Well, you're not funny. You're not hilarious. You're not this.
Hmm.
You're not a very good cook. You're not, they make you feel like you're stupid."
Yes.
And they
Yes.
sometimes they just come out and say it straight up. They just,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, man,
Yeah. My ex that I had to text message breakup literally called me stupid in front of his friends one day. It was awful.
ah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
I
the
spent
thing
like
is,
the
what they
whole time out, like just excusing myself to go to the washroom to cry just because I was so like hurt by it. And it's like
oh,
realizing after the fact that that was abuse is like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
and it's interesting. They call you the narcissist,
Yes.
right? They get
Yep.
all your friends and their friends, mostly their friends on Facebook. The Facebook world thinks that they're this sweetheart, amazing person that's been through a hard life, and they're going with this abuser, this horrible
Mm-hmm.
man who's like, you got to get out. What are you doing? And they also make it seem like, right, this great person online, but behind the scenes, it's the total opposite, and they blame it on you. And you're like, I think you're a bit of a narcissist. I think you're the one that's. It's like, then you start to wonder, what is this true?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Did you
Exactly.
ever deal with any of that where they online where people started to think that, you're the one? They started to believe them that you're
I
the one that's
mean,
fucked up?
with my content today, all the time, I get so many haters telling me that I'm
Oh.
a narcissist because I'm
Hmm.
pointing out the truth. I had a reel go viral on Facebook, like so
Yeah.
random because I don't pay attention to Facebook. It just posts from Instagram and that's it. Like I do not look at it. It has like 2.8 million views by now. And like,
Holy shit. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's insane. Yeah. I've never had this
Yeah.
happen on Facebook before. Like it's really random, but like cool. Like more people
Yeah.
are seeing my content. Great. But the comments, all the angry narcissistic parents are there, like saying I'm destroying families, promoting hate, and I'm the narcissist. And oh, it's so funny how the person that talks about narcissists is the narcissist themselves. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And
So,
that's actually some of that is interesting because I'm wondering, do they know that they're a narcissist and are they blaming everybody else? How are they? Because after you cut them off, you don't really know what's going on anymore. Are other people calling them narcissists? Are they right? I don't know. Do narcissists know they're narcissists? And if
they
they don't, how do they? I don't know.
yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing. Do they know the term narcissist? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter at the end of the day because they are aware of what they're doing and they choose their behavior. And a lot
Yeah,
of people don't believe that because, some people think like, oh, maybe they really don't know what they're doing, but like behind closed doors versus out in public in front of other people, they're two completely different people. That takes a lot of knowing exactly what you're doing because you know who your audience is at any given moment. So that's not a
yeah.
mistake. That's not them being in a blacked out trance state, having no idea what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing and they're doing
I
it
think you're right.
intentionally.
Because I had one of my narcissistic relationships. She told me in the beginning. She's like, "You don't want to be with me. I'm gonna ruin you. I'm not gonna treat you good. You deserve better. Trust me. No." And then she would like block me. She's like, "No, no, no. You don't want to be with me." And I thought this was like a playing hard to get thing. I'm like, "No, I know what I want. Don't tell me what I want. I know what I don't worry about. You worry about. I know what I." Right?
Mhm.
And then she's like, "No, no, no. I'm gonna ruin you. Trust me. I can't do this to you." And I didn't understand that because I never was with a narcissist, so I didn't understand. And I thought I was a smart guy. I thought I could, you know. And then I was also the type of guy that would make fun of people for staying in toxic relationships or with a narcissist. I'm like, why don't you fucking leave? You got a kid. You're just thinking about yourself. Fucking leave. And then it happened to me,
Mhm.
right? I
Yep.
stayed and I couldn't leave. I just couldn't. It just gets, it sucked me back in because there was a lot of insecurity. I was insecure.
Of
She made
course.
me feel really insecure, and she used that as a way to control me,
Yeah,
right? And it made
exactly.
me, I started becoming jealous. And then
Mhm.
I started getting crazy, right?
Mhm.
The
Exactly.
jealousy thing, they know how to use that to really fuck with you. It's like a
Absolutely.
weapon.
100%. And they do it on purpose.
Yeah. Ugh, horrible. And then, while we're going through this, there's the arguing, right? The
Mhm.
arguing on the phone, calling them on their shit, right? And they're lying about it. It's like, that didn't happen. I never
Mhm.
said that. And they fucking gaslight you. They lie. Or they're doing certain things or they actually start cheating. Or they also start doing things where they're, uh, it's like blatantly like cheating or flirting or whatever it is, being disrespectful, and then you're stuck arguing with them, and they're arguing with you, and then it's these constant battles, blocking each other, and then adding each other again, blocking each other. And then
Hmm.
I remember there's so many times focusing on and ruminating on the relationship and what they did and how they hurt me. And then, you have this knot in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes I'd be like arguing back with them. Like, and then I'm thinking, dude, look at me right now. Like, look at how my stomach is like tensed up. I'm like, this can't be good for me. This can't be healthy for me. But then you
Yeah.
don't care because you're too wrapped up into the to what they did. And
Yeah.
I gotta make sure they understand. No, but you did this at 3. No, but then this happened. Don't you know? No, 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 no,
Yeah.
you stay on
That's a
there.
trap.
You're just fucking focused on how they hurt you and justice, 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 right? And you're not able to be that friend where you're focused with hanging out with your because you're ruminating, right?
Yeah.
I'd be going to band practice. They're like, dude, yo, do you remember that? I'm like, oh yeah, hold on, let me check my phone. Oh, hold on, yeah, right? Or you can't be that dad that because your kid wants to play with you. Like, yeah, yeah, just here's your iPad. Hold on, not today, not
Hmm.
today. I got
Hmm.
this thing. I got to ruminate. I got to figure this. I got to argue. I got to,
Yeah.
right? That was my life for a while. And then
Mm.
you had, then you'd make up, and then it's like, okay, relief. I got relief.
Yep.
This
Love
is
bomb.
one of the reasons why. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is why I stayed because it's like peace. I don't want to ruffle the feathers, right? I
Exactly.
don't want to
You're
open
walking
that
on
can. Yeah,
eggshells.
yeah. For now, I'm gonna stay because it makes it easier. And my friends be like, dude, you gotta leave. She's gonna make you sick,
Yeah.
right? You gotta leave. I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't listen, right?
Of
People
course.
could tell my mom would, Edmund, you're going to get sick. Come on, get out. Don't. She's not a good person. Come on, what are you doing, right? And I'd still stay. It's like nobody will listen to you even if you try to help somebody who's in that
Yeah.
situation. It's like they got to go through it.
Yeah.
It's hard to see somebody go through that shit.
Yes. It's really hard. But they have to be like the
They have to.
person going
Yeah.
through it has to see it before you can even
Yeah.
say anything because they won't hear you.
And there's some people that stick around with these people for 20 years, I've heard.
Hmm.
Oh, what a waste of life.
Yeah.
Oh. And then so then yeah, she left me, blah blah blah. Thank God. And then everything's, it's like the eye of the storm. Everything's quiet, everything's good. I'm living my life. I'm, whatever. And it's like I think my brain's like we're safe, we're safe. And then this is my first perfect storm that I ever had. I had 25 symptoms. Then I got
Wow.
sick out of it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why am I sick? I'm not with that person anymore. There's nothing happening in my life. Everything's good. Why am I sick?
Hmm.
Right? Then I recovered, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, 4 years ago, I had 75 symptoms. Second perfect storm because there's some things that I didn't I didn't fully empty my allostatic loads. I was carrying 747s for a couple more years, and then, you know, life happens, and then boom, you go off again. Another perfect storm,
Yeah.
and that forced me to fully regulate and do the work. And I think with you, this is where the last you know drop was the wisdom tooth, but it wasn't the wisdom tooth. It was all these other narcissists and your mom. It finally needed to come up.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Like there was no way I would have ever healed from narcissistic abuse if I did not have chronic pain. Like I do consider all of my chronic pain, the jaw pain, the neck
Yeah,
pain, the wrist, everything like my greatest gift in life, which sounds so
yeah.
weird. Like pain was a gift,
Hmm.
but it really was because it just helped me actually, you know, figure my life out and get my shift together.
Yeah, I like that. Get your shift together. Um, do you know any signs that people should look out for if if you're if with a narcissist or not, or if you're starting to date one, maybe there's certain things that they can think about so that the radar goes off and goes, well, maybe I should reconsider.
Yeah, so if they rush the relationship, if they say you're like soulmates, if they, are just like so gung ho right from the start and all that kind of stuff, like definitely proceed with, don't even proceed, like red flag. Like the red flag
Mm,
is the do not pass go sign. It is a stop sign, like just cut and run at the sight of the first red flag, because with a normal person, there will be no red flags. Or if there is one, it's like a 5 minute conversation. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it never happens again, sort of thing. If the person is charming, right? I think it's like the three
Mm,
C's or something: charm, charisma. Oh, I forget what the third
yeah.
one is. Whatever. But
I forget.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll come to me like when we're not recording this podcast anymore.
Of
But
course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for me,
encouragement and something
I
else,
have to.
whatever.
I would say also I should have listened to my intuition.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
If you feel chemistry, I was just talking
that's
to
it.
my
You
group.
ignore your intuition
Yes,
when you have chemistry and they make you feel, oh, and
yes,
then there's the sex, right?
yes,
Usually the narcissists are a little crazy and the sex is like, oh my God, oh my God,
yep.
I feel like a man. I feel like I'm a porn star. I'm amazing. I can do all these, right? They make you feel like you're the fucking man. And
Hmm.
that's like, and then you get like a spurt of confidence, and
Yeah.
you feel that you never really had before, maybe because if you were a person that was dealing with feeling, you had low self-esteem, whatever, this person can really pump you up,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
And that could be like a drug, right? It can
Yeah.
be like a drug.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And I tell people, I tell my clients all the time, I told my group last night, the bigger the spark, the bigger the narc, right? Like if you feel a spark when
Mm.
you meet somebody, that's not chemistry, even though like that's what
Yeah,
we've been taught by, mainstream society and advice and
yeah,
Hallmark and Disney that,
yeah,
if there's no chemistry, it's not the right person. Actually, if there is chemistry, you're probably dealing with a narcissist because that is actually your nervous system warning you that there is something wrong. There is like a dangerous situation here, but we interpret that as chemistry. And it's not
yeah,
until we recognize, like, oh, wait a minute. And like you look back on your previous relationships and you think about, like, was there a spark and was it toxic? Yes, and yes. Okay, maybe there is something to this whole like bigger the spark, bigger the narc thing. So, when you're
yeah,
dealing with a normal person, you're probably going to feel pretty bored and you're just going to have like the energy is going to be like, yeah, I guess I'll hang out with this person again, like let's see where this goes, but you're not going to have that like, oh my god, I think I found the one sort of thing. And if that ever happens, like it's probably a red flag and they're probably not the one.
well, nowadays it seems like narcissists have been spawning everywhere. Almost every third person's a narcissist. Like
Hmm.
that's a common word, and I
Hmm.
really believe it. I know people like
Hmm.
are saying, that you can't say that everybody's a narc. I'm like, yeah, you can.
But they
It
are.
feels like it.
Yeah.
Everybody's a fucking narcissist these days. Like,
Yep.
it's like finding a normal person is like a unicorn.
Yes.
Like, they're one of them in maybe 1,000. It
Yeah.
feels like that. It's like we've been
Totally.
programmed like that with society. I don't know what happened. Parenting went out the window, whatever. We have like this. I've seen it. It's happening. They're like a new thing. They're popping up everywhere. So it
Yeah.
makes it really hard to find somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's like I always tell my clients, like, you have your whole life to be tied down to another person, you know?
Yep.
And the best relationship that you need to really prioritize is the one you have with yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
once you're good with you, you can't be messed with by a narcissist. But that obviously takes a lot of inner work and
Right.
growth and journaling and
Yeah.
emotional processing and all that kind of stuff. But that is literally the biggest priority. And then
Yeah.
you need to get to a point where you don't care if you find another person because no one's going to complete you.
Right.
Only you can do that for yourself.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to be single for a while and work on yourself and be happy, and then you're gonna vibrate and attract that person that compliments you, and they're stable. They got their shit together. You got your shit together, and it's like it's a bonus. And this is where you have a good relationship. But if you're doing it because, oh, I just broke up with somebody, I gotta find somebody else. Let's just jump
Yeah.
into another relationship. That's usually
The
not a
lucky
good
path.
idea.
Yeah.
But also when I was younger, when it was rare to even hear about narcissists. Maybe back then it was like, you know, one every 20, or
Mm.
maybe less even,
Well,
one
there
every
was less
100.
information out there.
Yeah. But the girls that I was dating then, they seemed normal.
Yeah.
They seemed all right. They had, down to earth.
Yeah.
And sure, at that time, I had a couple toxic relationships, but they weren't narcissists. We were just,
Mhm.
situations, life. We just, after a while, got bored. It got toxic. That's normal. That can happen. You guys still got to pull out of that situation because it's not
Yes.
healthy for you. So toxic relationships aren't healthy, but it doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. And back
Mhm.
then, the most of the girls that I did date, they were okay, no
Yeah.
problem. But then I noticed that later in my life, because I'm 46 now, the last, one or two, you start to see like, holy fuck, the ratio is changing. The percentages are going up. It's getting more,
Like things
saturated
are
with.
getting slim. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody that might be in a narcissistic relationship? Maybe they've been in already for 1 or 2 years. It's everything's a shit show now. They're starting to notice. Um, yeah, I'm with a narcissist. What would you say? What kind of advice would you give them? How would you get them to get out, or should they stay, or what? What would you say?
It will get worse. Get out. Take the
Yeah.
advice or leave it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's at the end of the day, it's like you have to make that choice to get out. And it's, getting out can be a very dangerous time too, because I think the statistic is it takes an average of 7 times for somebody to leave an abusive relationship. So, get all of your
Yeah.
ducks in a row, right? Make sure that you
Yeah.
have a safe exit plan every single time. And, just make sure that you are physically protected, because you just don't know sometimes like how unhinged a narcissist could get. I'm not saying you're going to get
Yeah.
murdered, but there is a pot like that. You just always have to be aware of your safety, and you're dealing with somebody who's not normal. So, a blow to the ego for a narcissist can really cause some unhinged behavior. So make sure that you're safe and you have a safe exit plan, and, you do things safely rather than, putting yourself in danger. And, don't tell them that they're a narcissist, because that's never going to go well. That's like a useless conversation. And
I did that.
yep, yep, it just does not work. And,
Yeah.
gray rocking is going to be a really great tool for, the whatever time period until deciding you're going to leave, and then when you actually do leave, because it is going to get worse. And when you gray
Yeah.
rock, right, like that's just where you give one word answers, you're boring, all that, they will try harder to manipulate you. And a lot of the
Yeah.
times, you can break up with a narcissist and they might love bomb you like crazy to try to rope you back in, and you have to really recognize it as a trap. So educate yourself as much as possible right now.
Well, you
Now
gotta
is
also
always
want
a
to
great
leave.
time. Yeah.
Sometimes people use these tactics because they want them to love bomb them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if I do this, she's gonna come back, or he's gonna be chasing me.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you want that?
Yeah.
Right? So people they start, yeah, he's calling me. Okay, I'm gonna go. We're gonna hang out. It's gonna be great. I'm like, dude, you want to go back in? No, you have to decide. You have to go. That's it. No, this is no more contact. Get out of my life. Whatever you try to chase, whatever I'm blocking you. We're done, and you got to make that choice. Don't be sitting on the fence and going, no, no, I'm gonna see, I'm gonna manipulate, I'm gonna pay him back for that. Don't no paybacks. Just fuck off. Go
Yeah,
live that great
exactly.
life.
That's
That's
the
payback.
payback. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly. It is going
yeah,
to get worse every single time, right? And it's like if you have that attitude where it's like you need to get the payback or you want to be love bombed and stuff, you're going to reach a point in your life where you're like, wow, I wasted a lot of time, right? So just always
yeah,
keep in mind, like, I don't want to get morbid, but like, we're all going to die and we don't
yeah.
know what tomorrow brings. So do what's right for you today. If your life is a priority, focus
Right.
on you and your healing and getting the fuck out as soon as possible. If not, you know, give it however much longer you need to give it, and it's going to be so much
Have a
worse.
plan
But
of action. Even have an out.
yeah,
Have a okay, we're gonna break up. I'm gonna cut him off this time, but I have to be prepared. I have to do
yeah,
this and get this all my ducks in a row, like you said. Get
mhm,
this all ready. And it doesn't even have to be. You don't even have to find out if they're a narcissist or not. If somebody's treating you like shit, and they're gaslighting you, you don't feel good. You're not happy, right?
exactly.
If it's turning into that, it's turning into toxic. It doesn't have to be,
Yeah,
clinically perfect.
exactly.
Right?
If it's not
Is
right,
if
it's
so,
not right.
yeah, if they're not treating you, even if you don't vibe, if
Hmm.
they're a good person,
Yeah,
right? Make the decisions, make the hard decisions, and get out. That's the hard for me. I know I can't just say that because I was a person that had problems breaking up with people. I couldn't do it, so I just stayed because it was comfortable. I didn't like being the guy to have that conversation, right? I was never good at that. But now life, I'm like, fuck, no, get the, I'm
yeah,
out of here. And that's
exactly.
the hardest thing. People stay because it's too hard to deal with the aftermath.
Hmm.
But to think about how many years you're gonna slowly, tear away at your nervous system and get sick, and this shit's gonna start to pile up, and then
Yeah,
you're gonna be dealing with all kinds of health issues. You won't be able to live that life. Let's say you break up, you're free. You're not able to live that life, travel. You're not able to. You're in a prison. And just think, how happy are they to know that you're sitting at home bedridden,
exactly.
not living your life while they're terrorizing somebody else. They're going on trips and they're posting it everywhere, and you're seeing that. You're like, fuck, that's not fair. They treated me right, and they're
Exactly.
they're going on all these trips, and you can't be there to be the best dad. You can't, um, be the best, son or friend or whatever it is, and live your life. It's time for you to live your life, but you don't want to be stuck in bed or
Exactly.
depressed or dealing with these 18,000 symptoms, right?
Exactly.
So you got to get out, make the hard choices,
Exactly.
and do it, right? And stop
Exactly.
being in denial. That's how I
Hmm.
was. I know a lot of people. They're in
Yeah.
denial. It's like,
Oh yeah.
no, but you know what? I'm gonna stay with them because we're gonna we're gonna try to make it work. And can I still heal? I'm like, honestly, it's gonna be really hard. 90% of the chance that you're not gonna heal if you stay with this toxic relationship. Not even with a narcissist, right? Sure, yeah, a narcissist, fucking
Yeah.
impossible. But even in a toxic relationship, good luck healing. It's gonna be hard. You
Hmm.
could, but good luck. It's gonna be very
Exactly.
difficult. And I say, well, I can't help. Just like they said to me, I can't really help you much unless you're willing to make that hard choice and get yourself out of that situation because technically you're surrounding yourself with these 10 tigers. Every time you're with a narcissist or a toxic relationship, your brain's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's in survival, it's protecting
Yeah.
you, it's in an alarm state.
Exactly. And when it's an alarm state, we don't make good decisions
Right.
because we're just operating out of survival. And this is why it's so
Hmm.
vital to literally learn about your nervous system and regulate it, because that in itself is going to make you the human bullshit detector. Because if you learn about your own emotions and you learn about your nervous system, you're going to be able to detect so fast that, oh, this is what manipulation feels like in my body. I'm out.
Yeah.
And you're going to save so much time.
How much of the day are you ruminating? That's a question you could ask.
Yeah.
Are you, that's a, because that doesn't lie. You can't be too much in denial, but it's like, well, yeah, I am ruminating about. And when you're doing the dishes, are you ruminating about the relationship? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you fucking, not feeling the good feelings?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's something to think about. And make the
Exactly.
hard choices and get out and stay away. How many
Yes.
times did I
Oh
get
my God, yes.
sucked back? Brutal. How
Yeah.
many times were they able to, hypnotize me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then they treat you good. They're gonna
Yeah,
treat you
of
good for a
course.
week.
Yep.
Oh,
Best
it's the
behavior.
best.
Yeah. And it's like, it's that euphoric thing too, where it's like, because after that first love bombing stage, once
Yeah.
that's done, like that's as good as it was ever going to be. And it was all bullshit, anyways. But all you want is for that initial love bombing stage to come back again. So when they, when you break up and they lure you back in with that same type of love bombing that hooked you to begin with,
Hmm.
your brain's going to latch on to that because it's like, oh, okay, finally, like this is what I wanted, which is what
It's
love
also like a
bombing is.
drug.
Exactly.
It's like a drug. It's like an addiction.
Hmm.
Like everything else that we deal with the mind body shit. There are
Hmm.
parts where we're, you know, like everything else. It is like an addiction. It's like we got to pull ourselves out. And I know that's hard. You're gonna fail a couple times,
Yep,
but don't stop. Keep trying. Get out of there.
exactly.
And do you have any uh last minute advice that you'd give somebody who's with a narcissist, or any advice at all that you want to talk about with the mind body space?
Start today. Journaling is
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
You will not regret it. Like it's not easy, but it's so worth it. And, resistance is completely normal to doing the work, but you
Yeah.
can do it with the resistance anyways, and you will be
Yeah.
okay. And just get the fuck out of the relationship as soon as
Yeah.
possible. And then don't worry about all the other little details. Just focus on getting the fuck out, keeping yourself safe, and then start doing the healing. And your future self, 1 year from now, is going to be so fucking grateful that you made that
Right.
decision.
And you're fully recovered, right? All the symptoms that you had,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
gone.
good. Yeah. I've had flare
That's
ups,
amazing.
but I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. You have the two. You're living the life now. It's not just doing the work. It's a lifestyle now. So
exactly.
that's awesome. Thank you for being on my channel. Really
Thanks for having
appreciate.
me.
Yeah, appreciate all the work you do. And yeah, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, you'll send me all the links and I'll put them in the description along with all the symptoms that she had, and you can get a hold of her. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.